The people of West Darfur need no more schooling when it comes to the atrocity of war. But that is what Husna and her 3 children have had. One of the families that together make up the 250,000 people who have escaped from Sudan across the border into neighbouring Chad and to the secondary school here in Adre. But quickly, this place started to fill up. People started living in the corridors, people started living in the classrooms. Here's one of them now. You can see the blackboard, people sleeping and living here all around. On average, about 2,000 people a day are still arriving in this border town. So what started in the playground has become this, the giant, sprawling refugee camp of Adre. The small border town in Chad now plays host to virtually the entire population of the city of Geneina, the capital of West Darfur. One day, judges in international courts may determine whether what these people experienced constitutes war crimes or not. But, in the meantime, pick a tent, any tent. On the 24th of May at 10 a.m, 5 Rapid Support Force fighters stormed into this family's home in Geneina. The RSF and Arab militia were looking for young men from the African Masalit tribe. The women in the house attacked them with sticks, trying to stop their brother and son from being taken. Then, according to Tessir, the RSF opened fire.
خلاص أنا صبت لأختي الواحدة كده مثبتها كده في يديني كده خلاص لما روحها طلع ضربوها كده ملموم في راسها قدروا يدك ده تخطوا كده خلاص جروا طلعوا مشوا الحمد لله ربنا يرحمه ما يغفر له اللهم يرحمه ما يغفر له.
Tessir's father, Yaha, lost his wife and 3 daughters that morning. He set to try to stop his younger daughter, Suad, from going back to Geneina. She can't be close to her mother, so has tried to get closer to where she died. During our interview, the wind picks up and we move into the tent proper. Rainy season is starting, and with it comes malaria and access roads for humanitarian aid cut off to the camp. When the rain passes, we go to the food distribution point in the center of the camp.
The estimated so far is over 250,000. The major problem is now we don't know how many more could come.
Because we're seeing an enormous amount of pressure being put on the local host community here as well, which trickles out to the country of Chad also, doesn't it?
No, it's true. You know, Chad was already hosting 400,000 Sudanese on that border, for which we had absolutely no funding. So it was already critical. They were in a very high state already of malnutrition.
The men are conspicuously absent from the food queues, either not allowed to cross the border, protecting their property, fighting, or have been killed. In West Darfur, the war in Sudan has metastasized into bloody deja vu. The RSF and Arab militia are killing and driving out African tribes like the Masalit, who themselves have militia. But wrapped up in the deadly identity politics, a battle for land and resources. Just next to the distribution point, pick another tent. Fatna Kamis Adam fled Geneina with her 5 children a little over 2 weeks ago. It was not long after the governor of West Darfur was killed, which sparked some of the most intense fighting. In the chaos, she got separated from 2 of her older children and still doesn't know what's happened to them. With the younger ones, she walked the road out to Geneina, an obstacle course of corpses.
أفنت ذات الناس واقي زول دفنا ماذي قاعدين نفرجك نفرجكوا بس نروح ده فلان حتة ميت ده فلان حتة ميت ده فلان حتة ميت خلاص دمرنا في السودان ده.
We've spoken to a senior member of Geneina's exiled authority in the camp. He told us that at least 5,000 people have been killed in the city. Back in the Hamad tent, the names of just 4 of them. A father and husband's roll call of the ones he loved, gunned down that morning in May.
ديل بناتي أنا أبوهم. أنا اسمي يحيى مطر حماد. سمية يحيى مطر حماد. آمال يحيى مطر حماد. تقوى يحيى مطر حماد. أوزية إيسى محمد شريف.
New refugees arrive here every day. New shelters fastened together. And with every one, new accounts of an old horror in West Darfur.
Warwick O'Brien there. Well, joining me now is Gillian Kitley, who is head of the Office of the UN's High Commissioner for Human Rights in Sudan. Gillian Kitley, thanks for coming on. Appreciate your time. You've seen Warwick O'Brien and his team's report, pretty graphic images. Let's try and get a crumb of comfort. Is there any prospect of peace talks right now across Sudan?
First, I'd like to thank you for inviting me to participate and also for keeping the spotlight on the situation in Sudan, which continues to be extremely worrying. At the moment, unfortunately, we are not seeing much by the way of hope for a peaceful resolution to this conflict. While a lot of effort is ongoing by neighboring states and regional organizations to bring the parties to the table to find a peaceful negotiated solution, so far there hasn't been much progress. And while there have been ceasefires that have been negotiated, they haven't held. So this is extremely worrying. We are not seeing an end to this fighting, and the impact on the population has been catastrophic.
It is. Well, we'll come to that and say, I take your comment, not be much progress, as something of a diplomatic understatement. In terms of the people coming out into Chad across the border, we've just seen in that report, are their needs in any way being met?
I think we share the concern of your reporter about the situation of people who are crossing the borders. We've had our own team of human rights officers at the border with Chad interviewing people who've been fleeing Geneina, who've been telling the same terrible stories as were told to your reporters about fleeing targeted attacks against African communities in Geneina, and people being killed even as they're fleeing towards the border. The UN is very much still present in Sudan and is also providing assistance to the people fleeing across borders. We are seeing a huge influx, of course, of refugees into neighboring states and a huge amount of displacement, 2.8 million people, I believe, are being displaced inside Sudan. This is putting a lot of pressure on both on the neighboring countries who are receiving refugees, but also inside Sudan on the humanitarian agencies that are trying to provide support across the country.
Right. And clearly there is some evidence, to put it mildly, of ethnic violence, ethnic groups, the Masalit, African ethnic groups being sought out. We saw it in that report, by individuals and being targeted. This is how, and it's a dangerous word to use, I know, but this is how genocide begins, is it not?
I think it's too early to be speaking about that, but I think we need to be concerned about what is happening in Darfur. As you say, given the history of Darfur, given the lack of effective deterrence and the impunity for the past crimes that were committed there, as well as the capacity of the armed and the level of circulation of weapons in Darfur, so the capacity to commit crimes and atrocities, as well as the hate speech that we have been seeing on social media in videos that have been circulating, targeting particular communities based on their identity. I think we need to be concerned and to be watching closely what is happening in Darfur, and there should be more effort to protect the people there, the population.
Right. Who's funneling the weapons in? They don't manufacture heavy artillery and modern weaponry in Sudan. Where's it coming from?
I mean, the availability of weapons in Sudan has been a problem for a long time. It's not just due to the recent fighting. I think the borders are quite porous and there's always a market for weapons. So unfortunately, that's nothing new.
Right. And what can the UN effectively do? Neither side wants to talk. They want to fight it out and gain military advantage, don't they?
Well, our efforts at the moment are focused on different things. One is for ourselves, we are trying to monitor and to document and to report as far as we can on what is happening in the country in terms of the human rights situation, the violations of human rights and international humanitarian law. And of course, the whole, the UN humanitarian agencies are providing support as far as they can in the country, facing huge challenges, both in terms of accessing population they need, and also in getting supplies into the country. We had and many of the important bases that were housing with the warehouses of supplies. Supplies were destroyed or looted.
Okay, well, Gillian, we will have to our time is against it. We'll have to leave it there, but we will endeavour to keep it in the spotlight as we go forward. Thanks for your time.
Please do. Thank you.